Your 20s are a strange financial paradox. On one hand, it's the decade where most people earn the least money. But, on the other hand, it's the decade where the most important financial decisions of your entire life quietly happen. And the scary part is, most people don't even realize they're making those decisions. They think the real money decisions happen later, in their 30s, or their 40s, when they finally have a higher salary. But the truth is far less comfortable, because by the time most people start thinking seriously about money, the most powerful advantage they had has already disappeared. Time and time, when it comes to money, is not just important, it's everything. Two people can earn the exact same salary, work the exact same job, live in the exact same city. Yet by the time they reach 45, one of them quietly becomes financially free, while the other is still trapped in the same cycle. Paycheck, bills, stress, repeat. The difference usually isn't intelligence, it isn't luck, and surprisingly, it isn't even income. The difference is usually just a handful of decisions made during their 20s. Decisions that seem small at the time, almost insignificant. But over decades, those decisions start compounding, quietly, relentlessly, until the gap between those two lives becomes impossible to ignore. Today, we're going to talk about 7 decisions in your 20s that quietly create millionaires, not overnight, not through some flashy get-rich-quick scheme, but through something far more powerful: time. Because the people who understand this early don't just build wealth, they build freedom. And once you see how these 7 decisions work together, you'll realize something surprising. Wealth isn't built through one big moment. It's built through a series of small choices most people never think twice about. Let's start with something most people completely misunderstand. Side hustles. Today, everyone talks about side hustles, but most people approach them the wrong way. They wait until they desperately need more money. Maybe rent increases. Maybe debt starts piling up. Maybe their job suddenly feels unstable, and then they panic. They start searching online for fast ways to make money. But by that point, they're already playing from behind. The people who quietly build wealth approach this very differently. They build a second income before they actually need one. And this changes everything. Because when your second income isn't created out of desperation, it can be built strategically, slowly, patiently, without pressure. And that's when something interesting starts to happen. Your side income slowly becomes a financial safety net. At first, it might only make an extra $200 a month, then maybe $500. Then, eventually, $1,000. And suddenly something powerful happens. Your job is no longer your only source of survival. That psychological shift alone changes how you approach your entire career. You're no longer trapped. You're no longer afraid to negotiate your salary. You're no longer terrified of losing your job. Because deep down, you know you're capable of creating income outside of it. And that confidence alone often leads to better opportunities. But there's another reason this matters so much in your 20s. Energy. Your 20s are usually the one decade where you have the most energy, the least responsibility, and the most flexibility. No mortgage, no kids, no massive obligations, which means you can experiment, you can try things. Some of them will fail, but that's not the point. Because the real value isn't just the extra income, it's the skills you build along the way. Marketing, communication, problem solving, sales, skills that quietly compound over time. And sometimes, one of those experiments becomes something far bigger than expected. A business, a brand, or an income stream that eventually replaces your job entirely. But even if it doesn't, you've still built something incredibly valuable. Options, and options are the foundation of financial freedom. Invest before you feel ready here. Something interesting about investing. Almost everyone agrees it's important. Almost everyone says they plan to start, but most people delay it. They tell themselves things like, "I'll start when I make more money. I'll start when I understand investing better. I'll start when life is more stable." And those reasons feel logical, but they hide a dangerous mistake, because investing isn't about timing the market. It's about time in the market. The earlier you start, the more powerful compound growth becomes. Imagine two people. Person A starts investing $200 a month at age 22. Person B starts investing the exact same amount, but waits until 3 to just 10 years later. Both invest consistently. Both earn similar market returns. Yet, by retirement, Person A often ends up with hundreds of thousands of dollars more. Not because they invested more money, but because they invested earlier. Compound interest is one of the few forces in life where time literally multiplies effort. Money starts earning money, which then earns more money. And, slowly, that snowball becomes impossible to ignore. The tragedy is that most people discover this far too late. In their 40s, or even their 50s, when they realize something uncomfortable. It's not that they needed a huge salary to build wealth. They just needed to start earlier, and the best time to start was years ago. Asterisk. Stop buying status. This might be the most difficult decision of all, because it requires doing something socially uncomfortable. Not keeping up your 20s are the decade where people start performing adulthood, new cars, luxury apartments, expensive gadgets, designer clothes, and social media quietly amplifies this pressure, because every scroll shows someone else apparently living a perfect life. Vacations, restaurants, shopping bags, success. But most of that image is built on something dangerous: debt. The problem with buying status is simple. Status items rarely build wealth. They usually destroy it. Cars lose value. Luxury items depreciate. And monthly payments quietly drain your income, but the hidden cost is even bigger. Opportunity. Every dollar spent maintaining an expensive lifestyle is a dollar that cannot be invested, cannot start a business, cannot buy assets. And when that pattern continues for years, the financial consequences become enormous. Meanwhile, the people who quietly build wealth often look surprisingly normal. They drive older cars. They live slightly below their means. They avoid unnecessary debt. From the outside, their lives might not look impressive, but behind the scenes, their money is working for them. And over time, that quiet discipline becomes incredibly powerful. Asterisk. Now here's the interesting part. These first 3 decisions already change your financial trajectory. But the next 4 decisions are where things become truly powerful, because they're the ones that determine whether wealth accelerates or quietly stalls. And one of them, in particular, is something most people completely ignore during their 20s, even though it might be the decision that determines their entire financial future. Asterisk. Before we continue, let's quickly remember something important. The first 3 decisions we talked about were about creating financial momentum, building a second income, investing early, and refusing to buy status. Those 3 decisions alone already put someone far ahead of the average person. But the next 4 decisions are where things start to become truly powerful, because these are the ones that determine whether wealth grows slowly or starts accelerating. And, strangely enough, one of the most powerful wealth decisions you'll ever make has nothing to do with money at all. Asterisk. Invest in skills that increase your income. People focus on saving money. But wealthy people focus on increasing their earning power, and that difference changes everything. Think about it. Cutting expenses has limits. You can only save so much money, but increasing your income, that has almost no ceiling. In your 20s, your greatest asset isn't your bank account, it's your ability to learn. Your brain is incredibly adaptable. During this decade, you can learn new skills faster. You can experiment with different career paths. You can take risks that become far harder later in life, and every skill you develop becomes something incredibly valuable. Not just today, but for decades. A person who learns sales early in life often carries that skill into every business opportunity they ever encounter. A person who learns digital marketing suddenly understands how to promote ideas, businesses, and products. Someone who learns programming can build things that generate income for years. These skills don't just earn money once. They earn money repeatedly. And that's why investing in learning can sometimes be one of the highest investments you'll ever make. Not every course will be valuable. Not every book will change your life. But every skill you develop increases your economic value. And over time, those small improvements compounded, eventually turning into higher salaries, better opportunities, but even businesses. But here's the key: you don't need expensive university degrees to do this. Sometimes the most valuable knowledge comes from books, online platforms, mentors, experience, and the people who treat learning as a lifelong investment quietly keep increasing their income year after year, while others stay stuck at the same level. Own assets. Not just income. This is one of the biggest financial shifts people eventually learn. Income alone rarely creates wealth. Assets do. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket, while a liability quietly takes money out. The problem is that many people spend their 20s accumulating liabilities, car payments, credit card debt, expensive lifestyles. Meanwhile, the people who eventually build wealth start doing something different. They slowly start acquiring assets, investments, businesses, real estate, things that generate value over time. Because income is active, it requires your time and energy. But assets can generate income even when you're not working. And once that process begins, something incredible starts happening. Money begins working for you. Imagine owning investments that generate returns every year, or owning property that produces rental income, or building a business that continues generating revenue even when you're asleep. At first, those assets might feel small, maybe a few $100s a year. But over time, those streams start growing, until, eventually, they can replace the need to trade your time for money. That's the moment when wealth truly begins, not when you earn more money, but when your money begins earning for you. Avoid lifestyle inflation. This is one of the silent traps that keeps many high earners from ever becoming wealthy. Lifestyle inflation. It happens quietly. Someone gets their first big salary, they upgrade their apartment, then their car, then their wardrobe, then their vacations, and before they realize it, their expenses have grown just as fast as their income. So even though they're earning more money than ever before, they still feel financially stressed. This is surprisingly common. There are people earning six figures who are still living paycheck to paycheck, because every raise they receive is immediately consumed by a more expensive lifestyle. But the people who quietly build wealth follow a different rule. When their income increases, they increase their investments first, not their lifestyle. They keep their expenses relatively stable and allow the extra income to flow into assets. That single habit creates enormous long-term results. Because if someone increases their investments every time their income grows, their wealth begins accelerating dramatically. Meanwhile, the person who constantly upgrades their lifestyle stays stuck in the same financial position, just with nicer things. Protect your health and energy. This final decision is often ignored in financial discussions, but it might be the most important one of all, because wealth requires time, and energy. You can have the smartest investment strategy in the world, but if your health collapses, none of it matters. Your 20s are when most people develop the habits that will follow them for decades. Sleep habits, eating habits, exercise routines, stress management. These things might seem unrelated to money, but they quietly determine how much energy you have to pursue opportunities, to work hard, to build things, to stay disciplined. A person with strong physical and mental health can pursue goals for years without burning out. But someone constantly exhausted or unhealthy struggles to maintain consistency. And wealth building is ultimately a long game. It requires sustained effort over decades. So protecting your health isn't just about living longer. It's about giving yourself the ability to perform at your best. For years, the real secret behind all 7 decisions. Now, here's what's fascinating. Each of these 7 decisions is powerful on its own, but the real magic happens when they work together. Your side hustle increases your income. Your investments grow your wealth. Your skills increase your earning power. Your assets generate passive income. Your discipline prevents lifestyle inflation. Your health gives you the energy to maintain it all. And slowly, over years, these decisions begin reinforcing each other. The process isn't dramatic. It doesn't happen overnight. In fact, for a long time, it might look like nothing is happening at all. But, eventually, the results start becoming visible. The investments grow, the income streams multiply, the opportunities expand, and one day you look back and realize something surprising. The financial stress that used to dominate your life is gone. Not because of one lucky moment, but because of a series of quiet decisions you made years earlier. Your 20s will pass, whether you use them wisely or not. Time moves forward either way. The only real question is this: will you spend this decade chasing short-term comfort or building long-term freedom? Because 10 years from now, you'll look back at the choices you made during this time, and those choices will either become the foundation of your freedom or the reason you feel stuck. And the truth is, the difference between those two futures rarely comes from huge decisions. It comes from small ones, repeated consistently over time. So, if there's one thing worth remembering from this video, it's this: wealth isn't created through luck, it's created through decisions. And the earlier those decisions start, the more powerful they become.